So, you ever wonder why they call it the Big Apple?
Because New York fans need something sweet after watching some of their teams perform. A little sugar helps the heartbreak. Ha ha ha.
Welcome back to Stats Pro Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Scott, and today we've got a special episode for you. We're diving deep into the fantasy outlook of one of the most intriguing running backs this season, Breece Hall of the New York Jets. And to help break it all down, we have our resident fantasy expert, Maverick Miles. Maverick, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Scott. Excited to talk about Breece Hall today. There's a lot of buzz around him this season, and for good reason.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. Coming off an impressive season, there are a lot of questions about his fantasy outlook this year. What's the first thing fantasy managers need to know about Breece Hall this season?
The first thing we need to discuss is his health and recovery from last season. Hall tore his ACL last year, which is always a significant concern for running backs. However, all reports out of Jets camp have been very positive. According to NFL.com, Hall looks explosive and has shown no signs of lingering issues from his injury. He's been participating fully in practices, which is a great sign for his availability come week 1.
And looking at his performance last season, Hall was quite the playmaker, even in a challenging situation. What do you think we can expect from him statistically this year?
Great question, Scott. Based on the projections from Fantasy Pros, Breece Hall is expected to have a solid year. They project him for around 1,129 rushing yards on about 249 carries, with 8 rushing touchdowns. Additionally, Hall is projected to add about 530 receiving yards on 66 catches, along with 3 to 4 receiving touchdowns. His dual threat ability makes him incredibly valuable in both standard and PPR formats, making him a top-tier running back option.
That's impressive. And with Aaron Rodgers back at quarterback for the Jets, how do you think that impacts Hall's value, especially in PPR leagues?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers' presence is definitely a game changer. With a more stable and competent quarterback under center, the Jets' offense should be much more dynamic. This could lead to more scoring opportunities for Hall. In PPR leagues, Hall's value is even higher because of his ability to catch passes out of the backfield. Last season, despite being on a limited snap count, he was heavily involved in the passing game. With Rodgers' tendency to check down to his running backs, we could see Hall's reception totals increase even further.
Right. And speaking of receptions, let's talk about his draft position. Where should fantasy managers feel comfortable drafting Hall this year?
According to the latest ADP data from Fantasy Pros, Breece Hall is currently being drafted with an ADP of 5.4, making him an early to mid first round pick in most drafts. This seems about right, given his potential upside and the improvements around him. If you're in a 12-team league, grabbing Hall around the 5th or 6th pick is a solid strategy, especially if you're looking for a running back with high upside who can contribute in multiple facets of the game.
Sounds like fantasy managers should feel comfortable grabbing Hall early in drafts, but are there any potential red flags that we should be aware of?
The biggest red flag, as we mentioned earlier, is his health. While he appears to be fully recovered, ACL injuries can be tricky, and there's always a risk of re-injury. Another concern is game flow. If the Jets find themselves trailing in games, they might rely more on the passing game, which could limit Hall's carries. However, his involvement in the passing game should mitigate some of these concerns, especially in PPR formats.
Yeah, definitely some interesting things to keep an eye on. And so, to wrap up, Maverick, if you had to give a final recommendation on Breece Hall, what would it be?
I'd say Breece Hall is one of the highest upside picks in fantasy football this year. He has the talent, opportunity, and now a better offense around him. If you're looking to swing for the fences with an early to mid first round pick, Hall should definitely be on your radar. Just keep an eye on his health reports and make sure to have a solid backup plan in case things don't go as expected.
Awesome stuff, Maverick. Thanks for breaking it down for us. And that wraps up our fantasy breakdown of Breece Hall. Thanks again, Maverick, for your insights. And thank you to all our viewers for tuning in to Stats Pro Fantasy Sports. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. We'll see you next time.